That's right, everybody. The DVD and Blu-ray updates are back. And I assure you, I'm going to be bringing them back to how it was prior to me doing university, where I do this twice a year. So you're probably wondering, why didn't I do this last year when I launched this thing? Because had so much bills in 24 that I just barely broke even that year, and I barely had anything to show you. And because of me having to move at the beginning of 25 and do a whole bunch of landscaping stuff to the new place, yeah. Alright. This first one that I've got, it's related to an item that I showed you a couple of updates back. America's game, the 2010 Green Bay Packers, even though I'm pretty sure this Super Bowl occurred at the beginning of 2011, right? Yep. Out of all the America's Game specials that they've done, that's the only one that got an individual release that wasn't part of the big 40 set that originally came out when they first did these, because originally they only did it for the first 40, but then they realized that there's a market for it, so that they've continued doing them ever since. So I've got them all downloaded, but I figured since this existed, might as well snag it. This next one is a film my dad showed me forever ago that he figured I would like, and wasn't strongly impressed when I saw it, but later I realized the strengths of it, and I got a desire to pick it up recently because it's one of those singular movies that you watch on its own, and I need a lot more of those in the collection. Devil Wears Prada. I can never remember if it's Prada or Parda. I don't know why I struggle with that. But you're probably wondering, why is this the Canadian edition? Well, unfortunately, that's what Amazon sent me, despite there being no indication that it was the Canadian edition. But it's not as big of a deal as you think, because recently I've had a little bit of a change of heart as to a rule that I've got, because it used to be that I was like, I want like one edition of a movie on disc. So if it's an example where it has a Blu-ray but the DVD has all the extras, then I go for the DVD. Yeah. And that's an example with this movie. If you get the Blu-ray is missing some, if not all, of these extras. But recently I've decided, if a film is an example of that, then I get both of them now. Because it's not that big of a deal in my mind if I have to put in a different disc for the special features, because that's what we used to do all the time when it came to these discs, you know? So you'll be seeing the Blu-ray of that later on. Same thing with this movie. I've actually had this DVD for years, I think, but I keep forgetting to show you it. The Blu-ray doesn't have some of these extras, even though I think that it's just a couple of them. This DVD requires a pretty big explanation, so I'm just going to show it to you. Popular Mechanics for Kids, an episode compilation that they put out freaking forever ago. So this was a show that my mom showed me when I was middle school, I think it was, and then not too long after I finished high school, they put out the entire series on Amazon as a made-on-demand thing. But then, like when I was in university, which was only a few years later, they actually took all of them out of print. Fortunately, though, when I remember this show a couple years back, it became known to me that pretty much the entire show was available online, so I went to Archive and I downloaded all but one episode. That one episode was on the Archive, but a few minutes of it were cut out for some reason, and I couldn't figure out as to why that was. So what happened was that there was like 4 or 5 minutes of footage that were missing from the episode. Someone uploaded like half of it, but couldn't find the rest of it. Nor could I find any reason as to why that episode was missing that footage. It wasn't complete anywhere. But then I realized something. Wait. I'm pretty sure that episode was on one of these episode compilation things, so if I buy it, which I eventually did, then I could just tape my TV, because I don't have the technology to rip DVDs yet. I kinda do, but I'm not familiar with how all that works, plus my computer's kinda old, so I'm debating about whether or not I should get a new computer. So just tape my TV and then use my video editing software to put the clips together. Ding! Can't beat me, internet. Okay, you can. Now this was something that I think I actually caught part of when I was younger, but because I wasn't able to appreciate the final details of this story, I was just kind of about it, even though I had seen a cartoon condensed version of this story already. Yeah. But one day I rediscovered this. I can't even recall how I did. And then I'm like, you know what, I'd actually like to see that, because I like the actor that's the lead in here. We got Patrick Stewart's version of A Christmas Carol lot. And apparently he was known for putting on a one-person play of that story, and people really seemed to enjoy it, so then they're like, let's give him the budget to do it for real, even though I'm pretty sure this was a TV movie back in the day. And get this, apparently there's been some fans that took the footage for this and then AI upscaled it into HD. But be careful what version you go with, because the original upscale of this made it pan and scan. Now, the person that uploaded it, they did a great job of being strategic as to what you crop. Okay, so if you didn't know any better, you'd swear that was the original aspect ratio. It looks great, but it's not supposed to be 16:9. This was done in 4:3. If you look between the versions that are out there, you'll notice the difference immediately. So, fortunately, somebody upgraded it in the correct aspect ratio, and now I have that. But I'm still going to keep this. This is a cartoon that my brother and I caught by dumb chance, and thankfully my dad let us finish it because we were really enjoying the story, but I never knew what it was called, just what it was about. Then one day I ended up managing to rediscover it by dumb luck, and then I got it. Life and Adventures of Santa Claus, but I should point out this is the fully animated version of this. There's another version of this that is like claymation that I think was put up by the company that did the old Rudolph, Drummer Boy, and Santa Claus is Coming to Town, but I never saw that one. I didn't even know it existed until I was an adult. This was what I remember from my childhood, and I'm glad to have that. This is going to spoil something that I will be showing you later, but this is a franchise that I'm tired of not knowing about it. Let's actually watch it, because all I've seen is the very first one, and clips from the other two. But I've never seen this particular work before. Back to the Future, the animated series. Now, there's actually 2 seasons to this, but I don't know how easy it is to get them in the individual seasons. Plus, unfortunately, when it comes to a lot of cartoons or lesser-known kid shows, they typically will just throw all of it onto one DVD set, and then, okay, I take back what I was going to say. I was about to say, and then they just call it disc 1, 2, 3, whatever, but actually no. They took the discs from the individual sets. Of course, I'm covering what you need to see, and I put them in there. I take that back. Okay. So ideally, I would have the individual seasons, but I think this is one time that I'm going to have to just drop in on that. Now, this is something that I heard about when I was in like a teen sitcom discovering phase. Checked out the pilot for this show, and while I'm outside of the age bracket, I think that this is actually going to be mighty interesting, and it's also going to be interesting to note the cameos that come from a couple of apparently well-known celebrities: Charlotte Ray, Will Estes, and Jessica Alba. Secret World of Alex Mack. I kind of refer to it just as Alex Mack when I'm thinking about this in my mind. But yeah, I never heard of this when I was growing up, but I think that this is going to be mighty interesting. But here's the thing. I bought this from Amazon, new, and it came with the slipcover. That goes to show you just how little this series sold. Because this has been on DVD for freaking forever. Rah. But this, I think it is an example of where they just number the discs. Yep. Here they just go disc 1, disc 2, etc. But this show has multiple seasons. So that's a little bit annoying, but this is obviously the only way to get the show. Completing gaps that I had in this franchise collection, I picked up both seasons of Stargate Universe. I've heard conflicting details as to whether or not this show ends on a cliffhanger or not, but I do know that, like with the other Stargate shows, it was cancelled rather than actually finishing up naturally, like all of the Stargate shows seem to be, but at least Atlantis got enough notice that they were able to craft a series finale, and then SG-1 was able to wrap up its story arc with these movies, Arc of Truth, and continue. Yeah. Now, as I said in the previous update video, all of Stargate. Have I been saying Star Trek this whole time? Oh my god. But all of Stargate, minus the animated series that no one really talks about in Stargate Infinity, is available on Blu-ray, but it was put out by a budget company, and people have pointed out that based on the Blu-rays that previously existed, what they've done is a step down. So they aren't the greatest bit. So I stick with the DVDs for home video release minus the original movie, but I did download everything in HD. Because my thinking is, if it's got an HD release, but it's either incomplete or is only available as a complete season set, then I'll usually end up getting it. There's a few exceptions, but yeah. Now this is not a franchise, but a known thing that I've been a fan of for a really long time, but it's something that I never bothered to try and collect. No reason why I didn't collect it, I just never did. Well, decided it was finally time I get off my butt and then pick up The Three Stooges, the Ultimate Collection. Now, hold on. This is not the complete filmography of the Three Stooges, okay? This is seemingly the complete filmography of their shorts. Okay, because, how do you get this open again? From the top? That's stupid! Yeah, that's really stupid. But, if you were to look at all the dates that are on these things closely, you'll find that it doesn't do the entire Stooges run. It does everything from basically when Curly joined the group to when Joe Buzzer left the group. So you don't have Shemp's first run, you don't have Curly Joe era, and then you don't have the other stuff that the Stooges were working on at the time. Now, one thing that's interesting is that they also have, if you get this Ultimate Collection, this thing, which you can find on eBay separately, and it's got some stuff on there. I haven't looked into it that closely, but yeah, you just gotta know that you have gaps. I do aim to try and get all of the Free Stooges stuff that you can get within reason eventually. And it seems like that they've re-released this a decent amount of times, sometimes with weaker packaging, other times as like a best of thing, but it's still kind of called the same thing. I can't keep up with it, unfortunately, but yeah. But it's still nice to have that. That's easily the majority of those stuff right there, so yeah, maybe a little bit helps. Okay, right. Now this next one that I'm going to show you is a show that I heard a lot about when I was younger, but never really got the right context to look into it, so one day I decided to check out the pilot for this show. Only saw half of it because I'm like, I'm going to like this, so I don't need to watch any more. And then one day I found a good deal for it on eBay for basically $5 a season, so I got all 15 seasons of ER. Now you're probably wondering, wait, 15 seasons? How the hell you were able to hold it around so easy? Well, that's because the seasons are on the shelf. I really only kept this box to use to show all of you. I don't know why that was so hard to say. Right. Just figured that would be a lot easier, you know? Same idea as ER, except I actually saw an episode or two of this back in the day, and I used to own the first season. House, the complete series in good packaging. It's real tough to find it in this good packaging now. And, yeah. There's also this interesting book about this TV show that's been put out. I forget what company makes it. I'll link it in the description for you so you can form your own thoughts on that. But I'm looking forward to going with this because apparently there's a little bit more continuity to it than I was led to believe, even though you can jump around a lot with this. To help me truly finish this franchise, we turn to me, Barry, another bit for Andy Griffith. Okay, right. The table that I've got now doesn't have as much space as the counter that I used to have in the previous house, so that's why I'm a little less organized. This is a franchise that, my favorite YouTuber and my stepdad mentioned to me when I was growing up, but then recently my favorite YouTuber, Zaran Izarak, did a complete overview of the franchise and helped educate people as to how you get everything on home video, and that made me go, so now I get the appeal of this franchise, so why don't I go ahead and grab it? And I've barely seen any of this franchise, and I bought the whole franchise blind, basically. So I'm hoping I enjoy it. So what I've got now is Babylon 5. Now, the original Babylon 5 ran for 5 seasons, which are all of these. But then they had a bunch of movies that were made either during the thing or a little bit after it. And that's all of these here, but some of them take place during the show's run. Then the creator of the show decided to take another stab at this franchise, and he came out with this show, Crusade, which was supposed to be another 5-season show, but then it was canceled early on. So, yeah. Not sure how that's gonna end up going, but... Right. But, there's more. They also came out with, another movie here. And then they also made this, which was apparently supposed to be a mini-series, but was reworked into a movie. And then recently, the franchise came out with one more movie here. This doesn't have a DVD release. It only has a Blu-ray. And apparently this truly is supposed to be the end of the franchise. But in this age of corporate media doing reboot after reboot, who knows? But here's something that you need to know about this franchise, okay? While the DVDs have all kinds of extras about the show, and this show was actually filmed in widescreen safe, okay? They knew it was going to be broadcast in 4:3, but they knew widescreen was right around the corner, so they did everything as widescreen safe. The production company did all of these special effects in 4:3 because they wanted to cut corners, even though, get this, the creator of this franchise had enough cash on hand that he actually could have paid for all of it to have been done in 16:9, but by the time he learned that they were cutting the corners, it was too late. So even though the DVDs show everything in widescreen, every time there's a special effect, including, it seems, showing something like guest star, whatever, you know, they took the 4:3 and then they cropped it. So you're getting a much more zoomed in bit. So, apparently a lot of what you're seeing is wrong. But you still need those DVDs because that's where all the extras are. If you want to watch the show in a better done aspect ratio thing, you've got the Blu-ray set here, which is only the 5 seasons and doesn't have any of the movies. Why they didn't remaster the movies, I have no idea. And, yeah. So everything here is 4:3, but they properly remastered it. But there's no extras, and as I said, you gotta get this as a complete season set. So, in that case, along with, House, which does have a complete Blu-ray set, which I'm sure is gonna go out of print. House, I mean this, I don't think it's going anywhere. I'm going to be downloading the HD versions of that stuff. Okay, almost done here. You will recall, if you've watched all of these, that years ago I ended up getting Season 1 and Season 7 of The Amazing Race here, and I had Season 2 for a bit. Well, Season 2, they eventually re-released it like they did with some of the earlier Survivor seasons in a smaller set with fewer discs. So, I obviously got that again. I'm not going to show you any more covers because the teams that you see on here are not always the well-known teams in a season. Usually it's the top teams. Fortunately, though, I took those sets away before you could really watch that, see the covers, but yeah. So just be careful when you look at these covers, okay? Well, what I ended up doing was that I ended up getting every bleeding season of the show that they put on disc. Hilarious, huh? That's 31 seasons I'm holding there. So, within the last couple of years, CBS and Amazon have seemingly decided to stop making DVDs for Survivor and The Amazing Race, but part of that is because they put every season onto those streaming sites, and the other reason is that both of those shows switched to 90-minute episodes instead of 60-minute episodes, with commercials obviously, but the thing is, they kept the total amount of episodes the same. So you have to make a DVD set that's going to be 50% bigger and presumably 50% more expensive. Reality TV already doesn't sell the greatest amount on DVDs, so yeah. It's a bummer that they're not going to be making more, presumably, but if that's the logic, I get it. But I've only ever seen the first 2 seasons of The Amazing Race, but I know a few winners, such as 16, 30, and 7, duh! Oh my gosh. But anyway. Yeah. But the thing about Amazing Race is that partially because it's the teams doing the same things over and over again, it works as a better background noise show than other reality shows. Hell's Kitchen kind of works that way, but it kind of doesn't. But if it's like Survivor or The Mole, you do need to be paying attention, even though I was never someone who was always trying to find who The Mole was until there was only a few episodes left. Because, yeah, why would you try to find The Mole early on? That just doesn't make any sense. Right. So now I've got every season of The Amazing Race that's on disc that you can get, and I do aim to pick up more Survivor seasons, but since I've seen all of them, I'm not going to get all of them, I think. I mainly aim to just get the ones that I need to get certain extras. Okay, so I was right. I was able to get this into one slightly longer than normal video, but not bad at all. Well, that takes care of the DVDs, on to the Blu-rays.